Sanbonani, hello and welcome to Sangoma Society. My name is Untitled UMakhosi Nomabutho emsamo, and today I would like to talk about the subject of termination of pregnancy and how that relates to your ancestral relations. So, what is a termination of pregnancy? To begin with, this is a medical procedure that has been performed for thousands of years. In Africa, we have had practices, surgical and non-surgical, for termination of pregnancy since time immemorial. It's well documented that African medical practices around birthing have included even up to cesarean section. This was something, for instance, the cesarean section is something that was discovered by the Europeans in practice in Africa. So it's not something new to us. Termination of pregnancy is not outside of the realms of our culture. But being that we understand medicine beyond the physical, we also tend to take into account the spiritual implications of termination of pregnancy. Now, there are spiritual implications related to termination of pregnancy. However, the language around that is not easily translatable. So sinokuthi unomthunzi omnyama ohamba nawe uma ukhiphe isisu. To translate that into English just doesn't quite hold water. But if we translate it taking into account what the message is over and above the words, it's that once you've terminated, the spirit of your child continues to accompany you. Now, the spirit of the child may not necessarily accompany the mother. It may even choose to accompany the father. A spirit is just like yourself, will go where it was most wanted. So for instance, if Dadams was the person who wanted the baby, but financially the situation didn't permit, and or the timing was just wrong, but if he had had the money, he would have wanted to be a father, he might find himself affected by the spirit of the child. However, if it is a situation whereby this was a decision solely taken by the mother, perhaps the father didn't even know there was any child, situations of that nature, then it's likely that the mother will be affected. What do I mean when I say affected? I mean, when we terminate a child, their energy, their spirit continues to grow. So if you terminate it at 6 weeks of pregnancy, it's possible that your child will keep growing. So their spirit then reaches birth age, which is 9 months, and then continues to grow from there. So maybe you only start realizing there's something going a little bit off maybe 3 years after you've terminated. Now the child is about 2 years old, hitting the terrible twos and starting to tug at your apron strings to give them some attention. And why would this be happening? Well, the reason why the spirit of a child would follow the parent in their living life is because that child requires safe passage into the hereafter. Safe passage either back to the realm of the ancestors or onward with their journey beyond these realms that we are aware of. Because at the end of the day, when you conceive, you have come into an agreement with a soul. Now that agreement may be eons old, millennia old. It's seldom that one gives birth or carries a child or a spirit that they are encountering for the first time. So this is a huge, huge gift to give to another life, to carry them into this life. As much as it is a privilege, it is also a gift that we give. Now, this termination of pregnancy is also the termination of the agreement to carry them forward into the human realm, into the lived realm that we are in now. So when we do that, when we terminate an agreement, there generally is a little bit of paperwork around that. And in our case, it is the ceremony to pass that spirit over, to let them know that they are no longer here, that they are no longer expected to live and become your child, that they can move on. Now, the language used around the ceremony of this passing over of the spirit is often the English word cleanse, and it doesn't really translate well from the terminology that we would use. Ukugeza means to wash, but when we want to infuse that word with ceremony, we use the word cleanse. However, cleanse implies that something was dirty to begin with, and that's not really what's happening here. What I prefer to say is a ceremony, because this is the conducting of a ceremony. It's more than just the washing. There is the conversations facilitated before, then the ceremony of the actual washing, then the ceremony of celebration that follows that. Now, there are so many ways in which this passing over of the spirit can be conducted. And firstly, I'd like to mention that it's not only Sangoma who can conduct the ceremony. Many families have their own traditions that they carry forward from generation through generation, relating to what ceremony is conducted for a mother after the passing of a child, after a miscarriage, or after a termination of pregnancy. These three ceremonies are very similar, although they tend not to be identical. Now, that's a ceremony that is typically overseen by the maternal the matriarchs of a person's family. So the maternal line of your family would often be the ones who would carry out such a ceremony. So your grandmother can do this for you, your mother can do this for you, your sisters can do this for you. It doesn't require, as long as you know what the ceremony is supposed to be, it doesn't require you necessarily to go to Inyanga or Isangoma. However, if you find that you can't really speak to your mother or your grandmother about this, or it's not something you want your family to know about at all, then absolutely this is why Izangoma Zikona, Izinyanga Zikona, to come and help you in times of trouble like this, right? So I hope this has brought a little bit of clarity about what this means, the spiritual debt that is accrued around termination of pregnancy, and I hope that it's alleviated any worry you may have had relating to a decision that you may have to make, or a decision that you have made. It's not a sin, and it's not against our culture as Africans. We have a deeper understanding of life, and we are aware that these things tend to have consequences if we are not acting in awareness of the broader implications of our decisions beyond the medical and physical. So thank you for coming along on this episode of Sangoma Society. My name is Hani Makwakwa, UMakhosi Nomabutho, Msamo, and I'm Honey Tell a Story on all the social media handles. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, and also if you have any questions that I haven't covered today, please pop them down in the comment section below. If there's something you'd like me to cover on another episode, please just pop it down in the comment section below. Follow me on social media. I tend to unpack there as well. And yes, thank you so much for watching this episode. See you next time on Sangoma Society, and hopefully we'll go on this journey together to unpack the mysteries of the ancestral. Makhosi.